Hello and welcome, all my live viewers here on Twitch, Facebook, LinkedIn Live, Periscope, and I know I'm forgetting a platform. Thanks for joining. My name is Frank Lavinia, and you can follow me on Twitter at FrankDigsData. I got rid of the Twitter handle Tableteer over the Christmas break, and just thought it was time to kind of update my branding, given that the tablet PC is not really a thing anymore. I mean, it is a thing in the sense that we don't call it tablet PC anymore, but it is definitely what was I going to say? Sorry, squirrel. Okay, there we go. So many emails and stuff coming in at the same time. It was actually an IM from Andy. I was hoping he would be interested in getting on a live stream, but I don't think he's able to now. But anyway, so one of the things that came up the other day is I did yesterday. I did a book review of Your Next 5 Moves, and seriously, if you're watching this, hit pause. If you're watching this later, hit pause. If you're watching this live, I would definitely say stop what you're doing, pick it, get the book. Audiobook, I loved it. It was great. thedatadrivenbook.com will take you to an Audible page, and you'll get a free audiobook on us if you don't have an Audible subscription already. I see Andy is online. How you doing? Yes, I do dig data. That's why I changed it. If you see, let's see if I can change this, point this in the right direction. You'll see that was my old license plate. You'll also see that I had a flood in my home office. Oh, man. Okay. Bloopers. This is the there we go. That's better. You'll see I have the matrix screens behind me, but I am. So when a flood happens here, it's kind of a big deal. Suspenseful. Cool. Thanks, Monica, for commenting. Do you mean suspenseful music? That was a new intro graphic I designed. I'm very proud of it. I've actually gotten into playing around with Canva and Adobe Rush. So Adobe Rush is this tool that's kind of like a scaled down version of Premiere, and it is definitely definitely useful. And I think I might have lost some viewers when we had the motion sickness and stuff. Sorry about that. Yes, I do dig data, Andy. Indeed, I do. But let's not get distracted. Since yesterday, I did the book review, and I could play that graphic too. But let me know in the chat if you want me to see those options. The graphic. Sorry. So today, I want to talk to you about kind of, last year I read 62 books, read/listened to 62 books. My original target was 72. So in a sense, I kind of failed. But it's that old saying about if you shoot for the moon, if you miss, you will at least be amongst the stars. Now, put this in context. Prior to 2017, I only would read about a dozen books a year. And it came, I think it was from a Tai Lopez podcast or whatever. And Tai Lopez is an interesting guy. Some people love him, some people hate him. He can be a little controversial, but he is definitely smart and he knows what he's doing. He recently expanded into kind of buying brick and mortar retail stores. And I would not bet against Tai. I think that's a bad idea. So the short of it is that he said that, top CEOs, top income earners in the world, they read 50 plus books a year. So at the time I was kind of, I was laid off from my job, and I was pondering, like, how can I be better? Like, how can I make this tragedy? Tragedy is a strong word. But how can I take this downturn and turn it into kind of a plus? So I kind of decided I'm going to make myself a better person. And it wasn't about becoming a CEO, because I haven't done that, at least not yet. But it was really just about becoming a better person. And I noticed that the following year I read 49 books, My target was 50. I did miss it, but that was 4 times what I normally would read. And the following year, I really rocked it. It was like 50 books, 50 books. Last year, I decided to kind of amp it up and turn it into 72, see if I can get to that point. I didn't make it. I made it 61. So I want to show you some tips because when I was in high school, I took a course. And it's actually in the previous day's video, it actually had some comments. So wanted to kind of point some of that out. So Jim Quick, I think his name is spelled Qwik, was actually interviewed on the Ed Milet show, and he talks about his backstory and stuff like that. And he was basically labeled as intellectually deficient or something like that. Like he had some kind of learning disability. But he has, in the years since, become very smart and kind of comes up with these brain hacks to make the most of what he has. And he actually, I think, has a speed reading course, which somebody in the comments, I think it was Manesh, had pointed out that he loved. So I'm going to share with you some of the tips and tricks I use to read. Now, one of the things I took this course called Redac. I don't know if they're still around. Shame on me. I should probably do some research on that. But I'm not going to do a live Google or Bing search on the internet because God only knows who owns that domain name these days. But what I am going to show you is I'm going to show you a tool that I got. It's a free plugin for Chrome. And let's see. So you go to Kindle, and this is actually an interesting book. He has one audio book. I wish he had more. But this is something that was recommended by the Ed Milet podcast. So what I do is you install this plugin called Creator, and it only works when you're on this domain, read.amazon.com. If you're not familiar with read.amazon.com, this is the website where you can read any of your Kindle books. If you have an Android phone, there is actually a feature built into the Kindle app called Word Runner, which essentially does exactly what you're going to see. So I'm going to show you Creator. And again, Creator's free. I'm not making any money off it, but this is what I use. Now, don't be alarmed because I've done this for a number of years and have cranked up my speed. In Creator, I can get bursts up to 1,400 words per minute, which means I can chew through a book pretty quickly. Of course, the demo gods are not cooperating. So how are you all doing out there in internet streaming land? Okay. Still loading. But ultimately, what this does is let me close it and I'll start it up again. But ultimately, the way we learned to read as kids, and I'm assuming that if you're on any of these streaming platforms and you're watching, you probably know how to read. But if you remember how we read, we kind of would go from word to word, right? And we were taught this, right? And that's nothing wrong with that. But I'm just saying that, what made sense at 5 or 6 years old does not make sense beyond that, particularly when you look at the volume of information that we're expected to consume in our lives, right? That has gone up and it shows no sign of abating. So basically, you think back to when you were a kid, it's important to understand that the author of this book is not an ordinary coach. Now, for me, it was always very hard for me to keep my attention because that would read me at kind of a snail's pace. One of the things that, oh, thanks, Andy. That's the link for it. You can either copy that or whatever. As always, Andy, you're welcome to join the stream if you want. As you can see, my hair is not totally presentable, so I need a haircut. I got that quarantine cut. All right. So, you would go and you read word to word and you'd go back and when you're 6 years old, that's fine. That's all you need because the books that 6-year-olds read are this thick. The books you're expected to read in high school and college, they get crazier and crazier and the amount goes up. But it's like we were taught to walk, but not to run. So Redac kind of did this thing. And this was, pre-internet kind of world when I was in high school. Yeah, go ahead. Make fun of me. Well, at least somebody's enjoying my hair. So, um, squirrel. So they would have this projector that would kind of like show like one or two words at a time. And basically the gist of it is that you, instead of the thing that the quick hack you can try right away, and you don't need Creator or anything like that, is to kind of just stop if you read every word at a time, you're going to be stopping your eyes every at least a dozen or more times per line, and that's going to slow you down. So the idea with redact was kind of like chunk the words. So for instance, you would start with saying it's important, right? You kind of focus your eye on that to understand that the author of this book, Steve Siebold, right? So is not ordinary coach, right? So the idea is that you would reduce your number of muscular starts and stops. Now it doesn't sound like a big deal, but it is, because your eyes, there's a fancy Latin word for it, but I don't know what it is. But your eye can focus on more than just one word at a time. Go ahead, try it. Although maybe not now while you're on the live stream, but your eye can. And if you just do that, you will, I don't know if you'll triple your current reading speed, but you will go a lot faster. And when you read a lot faster, you're going to find it more enjoyable. At least that was my experience. So my experience was I despised reading, right? And then when I was able to kind of just blow through it, I realized I didn't despise reading. I despised reading slowly, right? It's just like being on the beltway, right? Or in traffic, right? Most people enjoy driving, right? But they enjoy driving at highway speed. But when you're stuck in a traffic jam where you're going at a snail's pace, it's not as enjoyable. There are times for nice slow walks and slow drives, but if you're just trying to consume information, this is kind of critical. All right, so I'm going to open Creator. Hopefully it'll work this time. If it doesn't, basically what it does is it draws one or two words at a time, and this is all configurable. The speeds is configurable. The font size is configurable. So what I would do, before the pandemic, is I would go to the gym and I'd get on a treadmill, bring my laptop, fold it up, make no glasses on, right? I'd make the words super big, and I would just read through a book while I was walking. And I kind of replicated that at home, but I mean, I do miss social interaction sometimes. So this is not working, of course, because I don't know why, but the short of it is what this will do, I'll probably have to do a screen recording, but what this can do, and you can adjust the speed, right? So right now it's at 1200. Oops. The UI on this, and if anyone from Creator is watching this, why is +sign first? I don't get it. I do not get it. Anyway, most people tend to read around 250, 300 words per minute. Like I said, I can burst up to 1400, but I tend to cruise at around 1000 to 1100. I don't say that to impression you, to be impressive, but I do point that out, that it is possible to do that, because your brain, this is why people hate reading. This is why this is a big problem, because if you have any flavor of ADD, which I self-described high functioning person with ADD, is that you're going to lose, if you're reading at that snail's pace, you're going to lose interest after the first paragraph, maybe the second one. When I was in school, the only thing that kept me going was fear of getting bad grades. But when I unlocked this secret, it just opened up a whole new world. And I just want to make sure that leaders are readers, and the best way, I never fully understood that, because sometimes with Tai Lopez, he's an interesting guy. He's definitely smart. There is no doubt about his intelligence, but he rubs some people the wrong way, right? And a lot of these like self-help gurus and business titans, they kind of rub some people the wrong way. And Tai would show off his Lamborghinis and stuff like that. And he was the guy, you probably, if you don't know his name, you probably seen his ads on YouTube where he's like, he gets out of a car, or he's in his garage and he's got a bookshelf next to like 3 Lamborghinis in his garage. He walks around his mansion saying, yeah, I try to read, a book a day. And that sort of bravado has earned him a lot of attention, which is brilliant. One. And I started listening to his podcast on a recommendation I met of another podcaster I met at a podcasting meetup in DC. And this is in the before the plague. And it was insightful. I started listening from the beginning, and when you hear him out, everything he does kind of makes more sense. So I kind of like, you know what? Let me try to read more books this year, and it worked. Because what happens is, at least for me, somewhere around the high 40s, low 50s, there's a threshold you hit where you read so much information. At least for me, you forget. You literally, honest to God, forget where you learned it. But what you do start to do is you start picking up ideas, and you kind of know they're not always your ideas, right? But you're able to start seeing patterns in different places. One of the books Ty Lopez recommended like insistently for months was a book called Titan, and it was about the rise of John D. Rockefeller. Now, I grew up in Bayonne, New Jersey, and kind of the New York area, Staten Island, the Bronx, and stuff like that. I knew the name John Rockefeller, and usually people didn't bring it up favorably, or some people did. But ultimately, he was the one who turned Bayonne from kind of a near New York City seaside resort town to an industrial kind of metropolis that it is now. Some people, environmental type folks, or people that wish they lived on the shore, didn't like that. So I didn't really know much more about him other than he was incredibly rich, and Rockefeller Center was named after him. But the whole story of his life is just utterly fascinating. And you start seeing parallels with people today, right? You look at Jeff Bezos's life. There's some interesting parallels between Jeff Bezos and John Rockefeller. It's all a very fascinating thing, and it's a 35-hour read or listen on LinkedIn. Not LinkedIn. It's a 35-hour read on Audible, or listen on Audible, and it's worth it though. I mean, I like to joke that was why my numbers were so low the other year, because that was a commitment to a book. But this, in 2020, I committed to, no excuses. But you just start seeing patterns in things, and you're like, huh, if this successful person did X, and that one did X, mostly X, but a little bit of Y, then this person did Y and some of X, and you kind of start seeing patterns of just different ideas, and they start merging. So when you're in a business situation and something comes up, you're kind of like, you can draw on the collective wisdom of John Rockefeller, Jeff Bezos. I mean, obviously, I don't have my own Lamborghini, at least not yet. I have a model Lamborghini, and then my 5-year-old, he was 5 at the time, told me that he was going to commit to himself to buying me a Lamborghini, because I always talk about Lamborghinis. So I thought that was sweet, and I don't know if I'm going to hold him to that, but but I mean, that's not the point. Is not car ownership. The point is becoming a better person, and if you can manifest that sort of thing, whether it's a Lamborghini, Tesla, whatever, that's really what I'm after. But the ideas that you see, the patterns you see, the larger picture you see, is totally worth the time and effort and attention you put into it. And obviously this all depends on what you're reading. If you're reading, I mean, honestly, for me, most of what I read, probably 90+%, is nonfiction. I have read fiction. I probably should add more fiction to the mix, because I think that also ignites the imagination. But the quality of what you read is going to depend on the output. So if you read, I can't think of any good examples, but if you read something that's not really has some kind of endearing quality or enrichment of yourself, you're going to get, it's the old thing that people say, garbage in, garbage out. It's the same with books. It's the same with data and AI, and it's the same with just about anything, honestly. And it is, well, it's been a privilege and honor for folks. Thanks for watching. I'm going to give this one more shot. Oh, if this doesn't work, man, my reading plan for the year is in jeopardy. But the good news is, if this doesn't work, there are other tools. There's something called Spreeder that works with PDFs. I have not had a lot of great luck with that. There's something called Caliber that works with different mob files and other files like that. And the reason why that's important to me is because I get a lot of stuff off Humble Bundle. and you should too, honestly. You look at the bundles, most of it's games on Humble Bundle, but every once in a while they'll have an interesting kind of um, deal on software, or they'll have a deal on um, they'll have a deal on games. They actually had a deal the other day on kind of stock photography and stuff like that, sound effects. But if you look here, right, you get for $1 you get 4 books, $8 you get that many more, and then for $15 you basically get a ton of. Oh wow, this is another one, right? So for $18 or more, you get all of these ebooks. It goes to a charity. You control how much a charity gets, or the publisher, or Humble Bundle gets their cut. But the short of it is that you have the ability to just get a lot of material for very little money while supporting a charity, right? So if you're sitting there thinking, Frank, that's great, Frank, that's great, but books cost money. They do cost money, but there are ways to mitigate that. And I got an email from someone or an IM, and I'm assuming they went that route as opposed to, I won't call them out by name. If you want to be called out by name, just let me know. But she's telling me that Creator is also doing the spinny thing too. So I don't know what's going on. If I can crack this, I'll do that. If I can find a replacement, I will. But I'm telling you, the one disadvantage of Creator is that it only works with the Amazon site, if it works at all. I had a point, but I mean, if you want to get into this stuff, and this is great for people, that you want to give them a gift, right? Here's $15. Read all these books if you really want to make your life better and change careers. Every once in a while, there's an AI and data one, and I share that with an internal group at Microsoft. This one's fascinating. This is cybersecurity and cryptography. A lot of my interest in .NET, or a lot of my skills in .NET programming, fun fact, started with a gig that I had my own company and was pushing for a contract with a government agency to detect images that had kind of data inside them, passing around secret messages. And it was called Steganography, kind of like the dinosaur, but not quite. And I originally read about it in Applied Cryptography. And there's a bunch of stuff that's gone on since then in that. So, but I remember what struck out for me and helped me. Didn't get the contract, right? I bid on it, but I didn't get it. But what stuck with me, and you may think, oh my God, that's a failure. No, it wasn't, because I got to learn a lot about how .NET handled cryptography and mathematics and all that sort of thing. So when I was looking for a job, one job was about on tablet PCs, actually doing electronic medical health records, and the security was a big concern. How do you want to do this? And I was like, I was able to talk a pretty good amount about how cryptography is handled, what's the difference between AES and Raindal, and a couple of the other protocols that are out there. Not in that space anymore, so maybe these things are outdated, but that was a thing. So highly recommend this. Now, the challenge I do have, and I'll be full all up, is that these are all PDFs, MOBIs, or pub files. I've not had a lot of success with Calibre. Maybe I haven't put the effort into it, but if anyone can find a good ebook management tool, let me know. If you can find a really good ebook speed reading tool, let me know. But that definitely makes it easier. So if you do have an Android phone, for some reason it's not enabled on iOS, it's probably some sort of ego contest between Tim Cook and Jeff Bezos, but it is what it is. Ultimately, what would be great is if they had it, but if you have an Android phone, you can actually, let me see if I can pull up my phone right now. We're gonna do it live. What I really need to do is get new glasses. But aside from that, let me show you kind of what the concept here is. Loading the Kindle app. All right, from my library. All right, so this is going to be a different book. It's going to be DIY solar power. I'm just fascinated by solar power. So I've done videos on YouTube. If you want me to do a video about the solar generator I built, which is currently just sitting there charging it, so I'm not using it for anything right now. All right, so this is what it looks like. If I go to here, this screen, and I choose Word Runner, I get this playhead, right? And if I click, let's see if I can do this. Come on. What's going to happen is that I'm going to. It basically does kind of what you would have to do manually with Redact or whatever program, but it does it like this. Now, that is very helpful. I just thought I would share that. That way, I mean, clearly this works. Creator doesn't work today, but when it does work, it is fantastic. And I will now embark on a search for something that actually works on this. And with that, I hope you have a fantastic day. I thought I would share some information like that. Let's see if I can do that. That's all I got. I definitely will be in touch. Let me know in the comments if you have a good ebook management solution. I'll probably end up buying this cryptography bundle. I mean, why not, right? $1, $15. I mean, you can't beat it. I mean, these are normally hundreds of dollars worth of books. If money is tight, which I totally understand, many local libraries will let you borrow ebooks, either on the Kindle. I've only done it with Kindle, but take my word for it, it can be done. And that's all I got. I hope you have a fantastic day. Stay safe out there, and let's make the world better.